Hi, welcome back to Pain and Revival podcast. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Jamie Wyskiver from Cookeville, Tennessee. She's a chiropractor in Cookeville, Tennessee. And she has a very empowering story about losing your daughter.
Mhm.
All right.
Nice. Yeah.
So, would you want to go ahead and just share and take it away?
Yeah. So I moved to Spain after I had graduated from chiropractic school in 2006. And I moved to Spain in 2011 with the intentions of practicing over there, which I did with my husband at the time. And we had two kids. And 8 months after we moved there, unfortunately, on like an emergency basis, we had no warning signs of anything other than my daughter having like flu-like symptoms for a few days. That she was diagnosed on an emergency basis. She started having seizures, and then they, after doing a biopsy, determined that she had PNET brain cancer, which is primitive neuroectodermal tumor. So that is the type of cancer that you are usually, it's more of a genetic disposition, and you're typically born with that cancer. It's not something that develops too much later in life. It's usually more when you're a little kid. So it was like a one in like, I can't even remember how many billion like that it is that this would ever happen to you, but I won that unlucky lottery card, if you will. So I wanted to do everything all natural and holistic for her because at the time we were living in Spain, we did not by law have to do chemotherapy for her. So I did chiropractic care, obviously, which she was under regular chiropractic care since, being born. And we did 3 hours of Jensen Jitsu energy work with her every day. I had her on 43 supplements, a ketogenic diet. I mean, we were doing everything we could do, even including, well, down the road, we had a Rife machine, but we were doing everything that we could do more holistically with her. And she was thriving with cancer diagnosis. She had had two surgeries to remove the brain tumor and to get the pressure off of everything that was going on in there that was inhibiting her once she had that seizure. But after that point, she was just doing exceptional. And when she originally was diagnosed on that emergency basis, they told me that she wasn't, they didn't think she was going to make it through the night. And that was just not acceptable to me. Like, not that I God and have that call, but I was like, no, this is not how this story ends.
Yeah.
And more importantly to me in the moment, I had an older daughter who was four actually. She hadn't even turned 5 yet. So I couldn't, it was more so not like, oh my gosh, this is happening to my child. It was more my other child. This is her best friend. And
Right.
how am I going to tell her that this is happening to her best friend and that it happened like that? And for a 4-year-old to be able to comprehend that. So that was honestly more of where I was sitting with, but I just didn't accept that she wasn't going to make it through the night. I had a deeper rooted faith in that. And miracles happened, and an amazing surgeon came in at like 3 a.m. He just happened to stop by, and he was the local pediatric neurosurgeon, and he wanted to just take pressure off of her tumor by removing part of her skull, and to see if that could at least give her the ability for the tumor to shrink some so they could later do surgery to hopefully remove it, which that all went successful. So it was beautiful to see her healing from all natural things with such a severe diagnosis. And with that type of diagnosis, their prognosis is terminal. There is really hardly anybody that survives this. So to me, I wanted her body to stay pure. I didn't want chemotherapy or radiation to decrease her quality of life or make her feel like what the majority of adults say they feel like when they do that. And I didn't win that battle. Unfortunately, my husband at the time was pressured by his parents, and they kind of were just programmed the way a lot of people are. You hear cancer, you think the other C word, which is chemo, and
Right.
there's no other way. But there are other ways, and there are lots of people that successfully do it. It's just not something that's mainstream because of it not being a financial gain for pharmaceutical companies or whatever the reasons. There's tons of them. However, aside from any of those things, none of that matters when you're battling with your child's life. It's just what
Right.
you do in that moment. And so I really wanted to stick pure. And within she had 6 weeks of chemotherapy after I had learned that she was 1 point away from being cancer free from a cancer marker scale test that we had done. And they said, great, we're doing this preventative then. And I said, no, I don't. I still don't want what you have to offer. But she had 4 new tumors within 6 weeks of chemotherapy when she had been doing amazing for 3 months, having the surgery and then starting to progress from that point. So it was very definitive that that was what was the cause of the progression of her disease. And 8 months after she was diagnosed, the damage from the chemotherapy and all of that stuff, she ended up passing away 3 weeks before her third birthday. And thankfully, I got to spend my last Mother's Day with her because in Spain, it is a week prior to Mother's Day here. So I got to spend my last Mother's Day with her, and then she passed the final week, or that following week, I should say. So it's challenging for me every year, this, in America, because we celebrate our Mother's Day and it's the week after she passed.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm good. We can celebrate it another day. But I still try to be very light about it. All of this is, part of a story of my life. I don't like to claim it as my story. It's something that I was meant to experience, however profound and tragic and heart ripping it was. And I mean, people can only imagine, and imagining, yeah, you're right. You can only imagine, but living it is a whole nother reality, much like any experience in life, not just losing a child.
Right.
So it was important for me that I figured out a way to be the best version of myself, of whatever that was left. Because I had my older child that really needed a good mom. And I was a chiropractor. And to be completely honest, I wouldn't say that I'd be sitting here, probably even doing this podcast with you, in the wholeness and level of healing that I have now experienced in 11 years, had it not been for chiropractic. And not just because I've been getting adjusted on a regular basis and under chiropractic care and medication free also for over 20 years now, but also the fact that it allowed me to serve my way through. It allowed me to see that I had a purpose in this world that was much bigger than the pain that I was experiencing. And using that pain for purpose, and being the chiropractic purpose of life, and connecting us to that source so we can be that best version of ourselves. I could see these people's lives starting to change. And it made me feel that, aside from being a mom still to my oldest daughter, that I had such tremendous value to this world. And I was meant to experience the hardship that I did to share with other people, to maybe help them in whatever way I was meant to through their story. And still, my daughter, even though she's not physically here in this world today, she still keeps touching people's lives. And I keep hearing of people that have never met her, but somehow she touched them. And it's so beautiful. And it's not just, this is, my child's not the only person this has ever happened to. This is the ripple effect of what we have within each other, and we don't realize the imprint we make on each other, and that our imprint will last a lot of times beyond us even being here. She didn't know that she was making an imprint on anybody. Her little sweet ego, she didn't even have one, at that if she could eat chocolate. That's all she cared
Right.
about.
So, it probably felt like, the odds were stacked against you, and that was probably, I don't know, but it was most likely one of your lowest moments in life. So I just want to know, how did you feel in that moment, and how did you recover from that and become who you are today?
That's a very good question. It was definitely my lowest moment in life, and I'm praying that it will, stay that way. I do not want to ever go through anything that painful again. I felt like every odd was against me. I felt that my husband wasn't with me anymore because now he chose this because of his parents. I felt that they weren't on our side, and it wasn't my side. It was just for Sophia, for her to heal, for her to, you know, just do whatever she was meant to do. And if healing meant passing still away purely, then that's what I would have wanted for her, versus being toxified and going through the pain and suffering that I saw her go through. And that was probably part of what was really heart-wrenching too, is that I was the one that was there. They weren't showing up in the hospital like I was. They weren't staying up with her at night like I was. And so you have all of those memories flood you at the same time. And I remember I had a breaking point where I don't run. Like, I'm not really a runner.
Yeah.
Never have been aside. I hated it even when I played soccer and sports.
Mhm.
But I was running on the beach in Spain, and I was listening to music, and the lyrics just hit me so hard. It was a song I listened to a lot when I was a teenager. And I fell to my knees on the beach and just completely surrendered. And I didn't know what I was necessarily surrendering to, or anything like that. But that was I feel definitive, like really lowest breaking point. And that was before she had passed. And of course, I had hit some points like that. I listened to your podcast with Dr. Jack Borla. I love him. He's so awesome. But
Same.
I really could connect with what he was talking about with his wife, because I experienced that after she passed away. And I could not leave. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And it was like a few weeks after she passed. It didn't happen right away. But I would leave my apartment, and she did pass in that apartment that I lived in, not in a hospital. So the further I would get away from where I felt she left the earth, I couldn't function. I thought I was going to die, and I started having panic attacks. And over time, I don't know really, it's not like I had to go through extensive therapy or anything like, his family had to go through. Thank God. Somehow there was a different force with me, or just a story, I guess, if you will. But I just kept moving forward for my oldest forever, and just kept that in my mind no matter what. And I came home, and I didn't do traditional therapy like a lot of people would. I am seeing a counselor, and I see different like versions of healing counselors now. But it took me honestly a decade to really give myself that gift. But in the beginning, it's not the way I was ready to heal, because people didn't view the way that I viewed what happened the way that I would. And I accepted it in a way that a lot of people really didn't understand and couldn't accept. I have this firm belief that we have this contract with God before we're even incarnated, and we agree with what our hardships are going to be. And I'm not making this up. This isn't something I made up. This is something I read somewhere. And I wish I was this cool to like come up with this concept. But
You are this cool.
thanks. Thanks for having that confidence in me. But they were just explaining that we can, say, choose these hardships and choose our parents and choose these things, and that we go into the life knowing that these are the lessons that we are meant to learn in that way, shape, or form. And when I took that on and understood that, and tried to own that to the depths of my being, I could heal from such a great space, because I knew that the decisions that I've made that made me want to try to feel regret of maybe if I wasn't with her dad, maybe if I would have left, maybe if, there's all these what ifs.
Right.
But we can't what if ourselves into further depression. We have to say, well, what else was there? And what else can I do now? And so that's what I really did. I just chose to give radical gratitude in every way, shape, or form that I could in the situation, and just really understand that in the possibility of us choosing these lessons in our life, that I chose to go through this hardship. She chose me as her mother to help me learn the lessons I needed to learn to be a better servant to humanity, to be a better mother to my children that I have now, to be a better partner and significant other, just to be a better, child of God. And in all of those things, that if I didn't have that, I don't really know that I would be here with that and chiropractic, just that concept. And with chiropractic, that's what really got me through.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Like that takes a lot to even understand, from like to understand yourself so much and to have so much faith to get that. That's incredible. Like even when you were going through this hard stuff, you had so much faith that you came about, and it's over with now, and it's great, and you're happy now. And I'm sure it still hurts. Like when you think about it, I'm sure it's like, you know what, that's so sad, but it is what it is, because
There
it
are
happened.
moments of joy and memories of happiness. There are definite moments of trauma, like that get triggered, like everybody, when it's that same time of year.
Yeah, I get
It
it.
took many years to enjoy Christmas after she had passed. I'd be in church seeing people holding little girls the same age she was, and I'd lose it, and just I couldn't do it. But the joy came back. It all, nothing is permanent in that sense. Even in death, yeah, death is permanent, but our source and our spirit is with God. And so energy just transforms. It never dies. So I believe that so much. And another beautiful thing, I've been very spiritual and very faith-based my whole life, but this is what really led me to have Jesus be one of my mentors. And more so in the state of being a chiropractor and putting my hands on people, he was the ultimate hands-on healer that I've ever seen. people talk about, and just using the power and potential of God, and how it is readily available. And chiropractic, I got mad at my mom one time because she got me it was a vegetarian Bible, but it said the word Bible on it. And I got mad at her because it said that, because I was that anti-Christianity. Like, I didn't want anything to do with that after being so ingrained with like really degrading Catholic beliefs, to be honest. But once I kept putting my hands on people and seeing the infinite intelligence unwind in their systems and amazing things heal that people think you need to have surgeries or take lifetimes of medications for, I was this witness to the most amazing thing, that there was no way that I could deny that the power and potential that raises the sun and sets it and has the moon and the stars and the planets rotate, there is absolutely no way that that was not this amazing, powerful thing that created us as well, and that guides us, and that has this infinite protection upon us, but knows what we're meant to do. And we just have to trust in that source and know that that source has our back, as us being chiropractors, and that it's okay. Like, life, we're here in life to learn these things, to go on these paths, to meet these people, to experience these things. And if we don't know what life is, being disconnected, then how can we have the glee, joy, and exuberance that we have when we're connected? How can we have that gratitude for those things? So it's the yin and yang of life. We have to have the black, the white, and then you have the little dots in there too. It's just the balance.
Yeah. I mean, you're such a great like person, and the way you just execute everything you say is amazing. Like, I aspire to be like that. But so to kind of wrap it up, if no one has gotten anything from this, I'm going to ask a very direct question. What if you could give one piece of advice to anyone going through something similar to what you went through, what would be that one piece of advice?
Hold on and know that you are worth it. I can honestly say that if I went back and talked to my teenage self, and I like to say this because I know that's where you are in your life, if I could go back and tell my teenage self where I would be right now, I would not believe it. I would have, and not in the sense like of going through the tragedy and hardships, because I wouldn't even believe the joys. I wouldn't believe the accomplishments that I've had in my life. I wouldn't believe the people that I have been able to touch. I'm a pediatric pregnancy-based chiropractor. I know you know that, but listeners don't. And attending women's labors while they're in birth and adjusting them and watching their labor time shorten and them have the home births of their dreams. And then babies are born. 95% of us are born misaligned. And now I'm connecting that baby's nervous system from, breath 10 to hour 1 of life. And we're seeing this different outcome of the way people are developing and experiencing life. And so all of those joys, but like even becoming a speaker at DE, that's been an amazing thing that I've got to do. And that was a goal of mine when I first went to DE back in 2002, October 2002. So to say flash forward 20 some years later, now I've been speaking a few years, I wouldn't have believed that I would do that. I would have never believed that I would have been on stage after the president